A7R3, A7R3. A7R3, A7R3. It's a new A7R3. It's a new A7R3. Sony just announced the A7R3. So I'm in the market for a secondary camera, specifically a full frame camera. And while I love shooting with the A6500, I love that full frame look. And I'm looking for a camera that does not only great video, but does great photography as well. And the A7R3 fits that bill. I know there's probably a ton of videos out there already talking about the exact specs about the camera. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna talk about the features that I'm excited for and I feel are most practical for filmmakers and photographers just like you and me. So here we go. So the first feature I'm excited for is that it films full frame in 4K. It's a 4K full frame readout, meaning it uses the entire width of the sensor, no pixel binning or line skipping, although there might be a possibility of rolling shutter. We'll see what happens there. There is no 4K filming at 60 frames a second. I know that's the new thing these days. I'm actually okay with that as long as it does good 1080 in slow motion. But having a full frame camera that films in 4K internally is such a huge win for us filmmakers. And from what I've seen, you can actually record to an external monitor 4K, all clean, sampling at 422. Super great for color grading. The next feature I'm excited for is the improved ISO performance. The A7R3 can shoot up to 32,000 ISO, where the A7R2 can only go up to 25,600. This camera can now film in 4K HDR, which is a hybrid log gamma. Not exactly sure how that's gonna work out, but supposedly that gives you 15 stops of dynamic range, which is insane in this kind of camera. So I guess we'll have to see. The next feature I'm super excited about is that it features dual SD card slots. What that means is that when you're shooting photography, you can actually partition your JPEG images to one SD card and partition RAW photos to the other. And when you're filming, you can actually film in 4K on one SD card and assign smaller proxies to the other, so you can use those proxies to edit on a laptop really quick and then replace those proxies with the 4K files, thus speeding up your workflow and editing. Thank you, Sony, for listening to us. The next feature I want to talk about is the joystick. Now, back at NAB, I played with the Sony a9 and it had the joystick, and it was so much easier and faster to navigate through the menu. You might think that having a touchscreen might speed up the process, but actually having an old school mechanism like a joystick is actually way better and way faster, and I'm so glad that they featured that in the A7R3. And finally, the last feature that I'm super excited about is the longer battery life. Sony cameras have been known for just incredibly bad battery performance. On every shoot, especially weddings, I have to take 5 batteries with me just so I can last for half the day. But now the A7R3 uses the same battery the A9 uses, which is the NP-FZ100. Now this battery is supposed to last twice as long from the previous battery, and I'm super excited about that. I know it's a super boring feature, but having to switch out your batteries all the time just slows down the workflow and kind of demotivates you and just makes you feel sorry about yourself. You can just think about all the bad things in life and then how terrible of a person you are. And anyway, I digress, but that's probably the feature I'm most excited about. Now, this camera isn't gonna be for everybody. Like with every other camera out there, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. But I feel like this camera is perfect for the hybrid photographer and filmmaker. If you're more into photography, then stick with the A7 or A7R2, or just go with Canon. If you're more of a filmmaker, then stick with the A7S II, or wait for the A7S III, or even go with the GH5. But this camera fits the type of shooter that's right down the middle, that wants to do great photos and great video. I mean, that's why I shoot with the A6500, because it's right down the middle that want to do great photos and great films. The only thing is that it's a crop sensor, which is fine, but there's something about full frame that's just juicy and tasty and all things good. So what do you guys think? Is this camera for you? Well, let me know in the comments below and let's get a conversation started. I'm just super excited for this camera. I love gear and I love sharing gear with you guys. I'm just so excited. I'm just riddled with excitement. Anyway, gotta go. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new, subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.